Hello, this is Sarah Hawthorne at PlanetarySarah.com. Thank you for your interest in learning more about Vedic astrology. During this introduction to Vedic astrology, I will cover some background information that will help you better understand Vedic astrology. You will also learn how Vedic astrology differs from Western astrology, a brief overview of planets and houses, simple remedies one can perform to benefit their lives, and what types of services a Vedic astrologer can provide. Vedic astrology in India is known as Jyotisha and is translated as the divine science of light on time and karma. So what I do as a Vedic astrologer is to shed light on the horoscope, on your karma. The ancient rishis said that the planets bestow on living beings effects due to their karmas. Now, karma does not happen all at once. Life doesn't happen all at once. It happens sequentially according to the hands on the clock. We have that clock. It's called the Vimshottari Dasha sequence. We can see the past, present, and future general trends of your life through astrology. Astrology is thousands of years old. In fact, it was originally done in Sanskrit, which is the mother of all language. It predates Chinese, Egyptian, and Western astrology. The horoscope is translated as the hour and the observed. So the astrologer observes the hour of your birth. We need the specific time of birth because that gives the proper rising sign degree for a chart. We read the chart from the ascendant or the rising sign because that changes every 2 hours of the day, whereas the sun sits in one sign for 30 days and the moon sits in the same sign for 2.5 days. So the rising sign or your ascendant is much more specific to you. Now let's talk about the difference between the tropical zodiac used by Western astrologers and the sidereal zodiac used by Vedic astrologers. The tropical zodiac is based on a fixed position of the planets more than 2,000 years ago. It does not take into consideration the wobble of the Earth's axis, or what is known as precession of the equinox. So if you take your Western chart and subtract 23 degrees from the position of the sun and the moon and all the planets and the rising sign, you will arrive at your Vedic astrology chart. So on the day of your birth, you could either talk to a Western astrologer or you could talk to an astronomer. The astronomer would tell you the Vedic astrology or the sidereal zodiac is more accurate. It's based on where the planets were on the day of your birth, not where they were more than 2,000 years ago. Now, the word Vedic astrology is known as Jyotisha. Jyotisha means the divine science of light on time and karma. So when we do your reading, we're going to shed light on darkness. We are going to shed light on your horoscope. Everything in the horoscope is predestined and will come to pass, but anything in the horoscope can be changed. Now, this is a tremendous paradox. So which is it? Predestiny or free will? And the answer is, if you do not know your horoscope, if you do not know how the planets are truly operating in your chart, and if you do not know when they are operating in your chart, then you will meet with the destiny in your chart. And chances are you will have the same problems over and over again in life. This is why people have multiple marriages, multiple career problems, multiple financial problems, multiple health problems. So what I'm going to try to accomplish with your reading is to, number one, share with you how the planets are truly operating in your life. I do not give sugar-coated false hope. I assume you want the truth about your horoscope. The second thing we're going to cover is the timing of events. Life does not happen all at once. Life happens according to the hands on the clock. We're going to see the past, the present, and future general trends in your life. Let me assure you, nobody has a perfect chart. We all have some weakness, some affliction, some debilitation, some bad placement. This is why we have obstructions, delays, disappointments, setbacks, accidents, and death-like experiences in life. In Vedic astrology, planets rule the 12 houses, and the 12 houses rule every issue in life. So whether we're talking about older siblings, younger siblings, children, mother, father, spouse, career, health, finances, status, wealth, foreign lands, accidents, transformations, even death-like experiences, these are all covered in the 12 houses of life. Every issue in life is in one of the 12 houses. And the houses are ruled by the planets. If a planet is strong and well placed and free from any affliction, and is not weak on any account, such as debilitation or infant state or old age, then the planet has the power to protect and promote its significations. For example, Sun rules father, Moon rules mother, Jupiter rules husband, Venus rules wife. If a planet is weak on some account, it lacks the power to promote and protect its own significations. So if someone has a weak, afflicted, or debilitated sun, then I know they lack some support from their father on some account. Maybe they lost their father, or he was an alcoholic, maybe he left, maybe he died, maybe he had mental tension or health problems. On the other hand, if someone has a very powerful placement of sun, this suggests support from their father, father figures, and support from authority figures. So the third component of astrology, after how the planets operate and when they are operating, is what you can do to fix your chart. Vedic astrology was known as Raj Vidya, which means kingly knowledge, because every king, every queen, every royal persons of India always had an astrologer in their court, and the astrologer would advise on the different areas of life. An astrologer would advise the proper gemstones to wear, and the kings and queens would wear those gemstones in their crowns, and as pendants and as rings, because the planetary gemstones bring the planetary energy into the physiology. It can help with health, wealth, courage, wisdom, compassion, and even longevity of life. Fix your chart, fix your life. So if you do the twofold planetary remedies that we're going to discuss in your reading, you will have much smoother sailing in life. The number one planetary remedy, in my opinion, and the most important remedies you can do, include charities for others. Anytime you help the elderly, the poor, and the needy, afflicted persons, children, students, or even animals, you've just done a remedy for your own chart. Now, the idea behind doing remedies is to help alleviate the adverse effects of karma. So if you are not doing the planetary remedies and adverse karma comes to you, it will manifest 80%, 90%, 100%. But if you start doing these twofold planetary remedies for your chart, you will find that the adverse effect will be minimized. It will be reduced to 30%, 20%, 10%. It will be much more manageable in your life. Now, nobody can reduce all of the karma. Everyone will have to face some karma. But it can be much more manageable if you're doing the planetary astral remedies. So the highest remedy is charities for others. So help the poor, the needy, the elderly, children, students, and animals. Maybe some donations every few months, or food, clothing, service. The second remedy is to listen to spiritual chants, and you can listen to any spiritual chants that resonate with you. They can be Gregorian chants, Christian chants, chants associated with Zen Buddhism, or you can listen to Vedic chants from India. The third remedy is to read scripture, so whatever scripture works for your religious or spiritual background is fine. Whether you read the Holy Bible or the Bhagavad Gita, any spiritual book, depending on your background, is fine. Reading a few passages every week will help keep the mind and heart pure and elevated. The second part of the component is to strengthen the benefic planets in your chart. You can strengthen these benefic planets with color therapy, gemstone therapy, or the mystical pendant known as the Kavach. So when we are doing your reading, I will let you know which planets are benefic for your chart and which planets are causing adverse effects for your chart. You can and should strengthen the benefic planets, especially those benefic planets that are weak, afflicted, debilitated, or badly placed. So for example, if Sun is a benefic planet for you and it's weak or afflicted, I might recommend that you wear a ruby gemstone. Or if Moon is a benefic planet for you and it is weak or afflicted, I might recommend that you would wear a single large pearl. So we will cover the proper gemstones and the proper colors in your life. For example, if a ruby is a good gemstone for you to wear, then ruby colors are also good for you. And if blue sapphire is a good gemstone for you, then dark blue colors would be good for you as well. And then the third remedy is the mystical pendant known as the Kavach. You can read about the Kavach on my website if you go to the Shop tab and then click on Vedic Astrology. We know these work. They are very simple, very economical, and they're very powerful. The numbers represent the planetary gemstones, so it's like wearing all of the gemstones that are beneficial for your chart, and you will definitely notice over time that you are moving in a more positive direction. Now, there's no magic wand. You're not going to wake up tomorrow young, rich, beautiful, but the remedies will help you have much smoother sailing in life. The analogy I use is that these planets are your tires on your bus of life. If any of these tires are low on air or flat, then you're going down the highway of life with some effort. You're not making the progress that you want to make. So if you put air in those tires, you will roll down the highway of life more smoothly. So do these twofold planetary remedies: strengthen your benefic planets and propitiate or honor the planets causing adverse effects. It's sort of like going to the judge. You say, "Your Honor, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. Can I get community service instead of prison time?" So that's what you want to do with the food, clothing, shelter, and service donations. A couple of last points. I'm going to add your email address to my weekly column. Every week I send out an email to my clients, and it describes where the planets are this particular week, according to the Vedic Astrology reading. And the second part describes the impact of those planets for each ascendant or rising sign, so you can read for your own rising sign. If you have other family members, you can send me an email with their birth data, and I will let you know their rising sign as well, according to Vedic Astrology. Now, there are a couple of other services that I offer that I think would be good to be aware of. One of them is what we call the suitability or compatibility reading. So, if you are early in a relationship and you want to consider a serious relationship, you can send to me the birth information of the other person, and we can look at a chart and immediately know if that person is suitable for marriage. Partnerships, joint ventures, employment, or even if you're going to hire someone, for example, to manage your money, or you need to put a lot of money or faith in somebody, then you might want to look at their chart. For example, if a man sends me a chart for possible marriage, I would look at the woman's chart to see the position of Jupiter. And if Jupiter is debilitated, afflicted, or badly placed, then I know her husband will suffer, and vice versa. If a woman sends me a man's chart, I look at his chart to see the position of Venus. If Venus is debilitated, afflicted, or badly placed, I know his wife will suffer. So if we know this early on, then you have two choices. You can either go back to the person and say, "Let's just be friends," but maybe not intimate, or you come to me and you say, "Look, I love this person. What are the remedies I can do for this person's chart?" And if that person is willing to do remedies for his or her chart, then they will have a better chance of sustaining marriage or partnership or relationship. The other issue that comes up is that people do not realize there is a horoscope for every moment of the day. So when you sign a contract, when you buy a piece of property, when you take a wedding vow, when you start a new business, when you launch a space shuttle, when you get sworn in as President of the United States, there is a horoscope for that moment. And people do these things arbitrarily. They're not aware of this. Now, if the horoscope is strong and well placed, then fine, the person can have good sailing in those areas. But good horoscopes are few and far between. So most people do these things when a horoscope is afflicted, and then the marriage ends in divorce, the business goes bankrupt, and the space shuttle blows up, or the president goes to war. So one of the services I offer is called electional astrology. We can elect a time to do something important. Now I'm going to finish by talking about just a couple of little case studies. Very simple little points just to illustrate the power of Vedic astrology. A young girl in India gets E. coli and goes blind, so the parents rush her to the hospital. The physicians say, "It looks like we have to do surgery on the eyes. We don't know what's wrong, but we'll do the surgery." Well, in India, it's okay to call your astrologer's office from your doctor's office. So the parents call Professor Chowdhury in India and say, "We have a problem." He looked at the girl's chart and says, "No surgery." He says, "This is a 14-day transit over her first house, which is the head. The transit will be over on the 14th day and her sight can return." So the parents have to postpone the doctors for 14 days, but on the 14th day, the girl's sight returned. My father has had a couple of cases like this. He had a woman call him to say her daughter has been rushed to the hospital. She's 19 years old, and for some reason she woke up and she's paralyzed. Her lower body does not work. So he looks at the chart and sees that it was the moon causing an affliction to Saturn, ruling the legs. and he saw it was going to be a 3-month problem. So he gave her the date. He said, on this particular date, your daughter should be fine. And the mother's answer was, 3 months? My daughter's going to be paralyzed for 3 months. He said, I don't know if she'll be paralyzed for 3 months, but I can tell you that on that particular date, she should be fine. And indeed, the girl spent 3 months in the hospital. They did a couple of spinal taps, could never find what was wrong with her. And on the day David predicted, she got out of bed and with a cane went home. My father also got a phone call from a dear friend whose friend was in the hospital with a brain tumor. The doctor told her it's inflamed and that they wanted to do surgery on her brain, but there's only a 50% chance to survive. So the question is whether to do the operation or not, and it was her decision. So my father said, let's look at the chart. Mars rules the brain, and he noticed that on the day, Mars was only 1 degree from the southern node of the moon, K2, and this causes an inflammation of the brain. But he noticed that the next day, they would be in exact conjunction, which would be very dangerous. And then on the following day, they would start to separate 1 degree each day. So he said to him, tell her to wait 3 to 5 days, if possible. So he told her to tell the doctors, I want to wait 3 to 5 days and then make the decision. They said, okay, but you have to stay in the hospital under our supervision. She said, fine. Before 5 days were up, the doctor comes in and says, the inflammation has gone down and you may leave. That chiropractor got up at a Vedic Astrology conference some years later and told the story about how we saved her from this terrible surgery that could have caused trouble. One last illustration. Years ago, my father found out that our professor in India had helped over 50 couples who were married, who couldn't have children, who had gone to physicians who said, I'm sorry, you cannot have children, but they left their doctor's office. They went to my professor's home, and he would study their charts, and he would say, no, the reason you're not having children is because of this or that, and he would give them the planetary remedies, and 50 couples went on to have children after doctors said they could not have children. 50 couples. Now, what I got impressed about wasn't so much about having children as being able to fix your chart. So this means if you want to fix something in your chart, we can fix it. If you can't have children and you want to have children, we fix it. If you're not happy in a marriage, we fix it. If you're not healthy, let's fix some issues with your health. But you cannot fix things if you're not aware of them. If you don't know which tire of your bus of life is low, then you will always have a flat tire. If you don't know where the draft is coming from, you will always have a draft in your life. And I mentioned earlier about Rahu and Ketu. Now in Vedic astrology, we do use the northern node of the moon, Rahu, and Ketu, the southern node of the moon. These are mathematical ecliptic points. They do in fact cause the eclipse of the sun and the moon every single year since the beginning of time. That is their role. They bring darkness to the royal luminary planets, the sun and the moon. Now it can be a total eclipse or a partial eclipse in this country or another country that we see or we don't see, but they can bring darkness to the royal luminaries. So they can bring darkness into our lives depending on their position. Rahu is connected with desires and material success. It can give charisma, fame, fortune, energy, and ambition like nobody's business. Rahu helped Elvis Presley, O.J. Simpson, Bob Dylan, JFK Jr., Muhammad Ali, Princess Diana, all rise to fame. But Rahu has a dark side to it, the eclipse. It can cause addictions, worries, phobias, fears, anxieties, suicide, unexpected calamities, taking risks and chances to the point where you end up having some major accident or even death. Now, Ketu is the southern node of the moon. Ketu is opposite Rahu, the northern node of the moon, 7 houses away. So if Rahu is the planet of material life, then Ketu is the planet of spiritual life. If Rahu gives desires, Ketu gives non-desires. Ketu takes things away from a person, takes them out of material life. Ketu can put a person in an ashram, a monastery, a convent, a cave, or into a hospital or prison, or even make a person homeless. Ketu can deliver some old karma and suffering. We have to watch the position of Rahu and Ketu in a chart. If they're strong, if they're well placed, or not afflicting any other houses, signs, or planets, then they can give their more positive element. Then there can be success and the spiritual progress. But if they're close to their rising sign degree, or afflicting any planet or houses or signs in the chart, then they are really causing some eclipse for that person, and we need to do the twofold planetary remedies. Okay, these are some of the main points and background of Vedic astrology to help you take better advantage of your reading. I hope these points are helpful. I do look forward to doing the reading for you, and maybe for your family or friends over time. When you get your reading, there will either be a recording for you to listen to, or there will be a transcript for you to read. I recommend that you listen to the recording or read the transcript, take some notes, and review your reading several times so you really understand it. I also recommend you keep a copy of it and listen to it or read it around your birthday as a reminder, because this will be your genetic code, your DNA. Its points will be applicable throughout your life, and if you keep your attention on doing your planetary remedies over time, you will have much more smoother sailing in life. Okay, so thanks for taking the time to listen to this. I look forward to speaking to you and doing your reading, and I will be able to just focus on your planetary configuration, your horoscope, and give you the proper information at that time. So best wishes to you and yours for health, happiness, and prosperity.